Hello, once again, I welcome you back to my YouTube channel. This is a very short video, and in this video, we are going to learn how to install a self-managed GitLab, a domain name, and an SSL certificate for security. Now, why would you want to self-host a GitLab when it is readily available in the cloud? Yeah, you agree with me that more and more organizations want to have control of their resources, of their platform, just for the purposes of security. GitLab has a cloud provision which you can just subscribe to, but these are open to certain security risk or security vulnerability or exposures. But when you have such resources within your network, then you can limit the amount of likely or potential security risk. And there are a lot of version control systems, such as GitHub, Bitbucket, we have we have Git, and GitLab is one of them. And unlike the common VSCs or version control systems, GitLab tends to have some more sophisticated capabilities that make it more um, that give it more advantage over other um, other version control system. So we are going to see in this piece what are the key differences and what are the advantages of using a GitLab compared to using a GitHub. Each of them have their different advantages and disadvantages. So you will have to look at what you want to use it for, and that will help you determine what to do with it. We are not going to be this video is um, not to discuss GitLab as it were, but we are more interested in how to install it locally. Before we delve into that, let us quickly see what are the key differences between a GitHub and GitLab. I have a little piece here that quickly run through. What are the major key differences? We both understood that both tools are for are Git repository. They are Git-based repository used for version control. But GitLab, unlike GitHub and other VSC, has more to it. It has more capabilities other than just version control or version management system. If you look at the CI/CD integration, GitLab has an inbuilt pipeline. So for software development, you don't have to borrow a third-party tool because GitLab has a built-in CI/CD line. Unlike GitHub that you have to use Git Action, which is also by GitHub, but it's not part of GitHub itself. So it's like a third-person tool. Then it is an open source. GitLab is an open source because even the self-hosted one is free. Why for GitHub? If you want to have a self-hosted GitHub, it is paid. Then we have the security. GitLab has more integrated security tool than GitHub because GitHub rely mostly on external securities and we have project management. Unlike GitHub, GitLab has some platform for you to manage your project. Platforms such as Board, where you can um, track where you can put your project development, and you don't have to go borrow other tool like Jira or ServiceNow into it. If you are using GitLab, you can carry out a complete project without using a third-party tool. Unlike GitHub, that you have to integrate stuff like Jira and all that. So, and the question is, which one should you use? And I said this is depending on what you want to use it for. And here, my conclusion is that use GitHub if you want a widely adopted platform with strong community support and seamless integration with third-party tools. But you will want to use GitLab if you need a fully integrated DevOps solution with built-in CI/CD and security feature. Now, this is not exhausted. You can go into it and and learn more about what the tool is all about. Now, how do you install a self-hosted GitLab? Now we have a documentation by uh, GitLab itself, and this documentation has explained how you can self-host a GitLab instance based on a different platform of Linux or different flavor of Linux that you have, or your different operating system, so to say. So you can self-hosted a GitLab using Ubuntu, Debian, Alma Linux, OpenSUSE, Amazon Linux, and a whole lot of that. But in this video, we are going to concentrate on how to install or self-hosted a GitLab instance on Ubuntu machine. And in this case, we are going to be using Ubuntu 22.0 LTS. That's a long time support. So GitLab has given you the processes and the walkthrough on how to get GitLab self-hosted installed on your local machine. So, but what I have done is that I've reviewed this step, and I consolidate the step into a semi-automated process, because this is too manual, because you have to be copying. You can see there are a lot of text in between the codes and all that. So you have to virtually copy every command and read between the line before you can install them. So what I have done in this case is I consolidate all these actions into a semi-automated, not fully automated, into a semi-automated process using Terraform and Ansible. So what I did was I developed a Terraform code to set up the EC2 instance, as I'm going to show you in a few seconds, to set up the EC2 instance that we are going to use, and Ansible to run the configuration. Okay, so what I have done is I prepared this and I have it in my repository. This is the repo. Sorry, I think I have the repo somewhere. I think this is the repository. Just a minute. I think I should have the repository somewhere. Okay. Yeah, so this is the repository. So I have the repository there, and I have created a Terraform main.tf file, and I have an inventory, and I have the Ansible that will run it. So we are going to um, go ahead now and run this process. But before we do that, I'm going to explain the configuration in the Ansible. I'll walk you through the Ansible codes, what each of these steps will do, and I'll also show you the Terraform code and the composition of the Terraform code, and we are going to go ahead. So to do this, what do we need? Okay, what do we need to achieve this process? Let me see if I can put something here to explain. Just a minute. Okay, so what do we need to achieve this? We are going to need This is a self-hosted GitLab. Okay, self-hosted GitLab. So what do we need here? I don't know. We need we need an EC2 instance. So on this EC2 instance, then we need Terraform. Okay, we need Terraform. We need Ansible. Okay, now this Terraform and Ansible are going to be, I already have them in the repository. We're going to clone them, and then we are going to work on them, and let us see how it works. Now, don't forget in our intro, we said we are going to be configuring this with a domain name and an SSL certificate. So that means we need what? We need a domain name. If you don't have a domain name, you can just stay with the IP address, and we are going to also use SSL certificate. That is for security, so that it's going to be secure from your browser. Now, I already have my IONOS registry. That is where I know register. That's where I have my domain, and this is my domain name here that I already have in place, suspendemon.com, and that is the domain name we are going to use. We're going to configure it now, and then we are going to be using something called let's. The name is what? Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt. It's a SAT bot. It's a SAT bot. A Python-based program through which you can ask for a free SSL certificate. Okay, through which you can ask for a free SSL certificate. I think there are limit to number you can have within 24 hours. I think you can have as much as 5 for different certificates. So it is called SetBot. In case you want to check it out, set from the word certificate, then bot, something like AI. So, and it's a Python based, like I said. I think it used Python 3. So all of this has been configured in our Ansible file, and we're going to see how it works. So what we're going to do now is, let us go to our terminal, and the first thing we're going to do is to clone the, let's clone the repository. So I'm going to go into my repo. This is my repository. I'm going to copy it here. And I'm going to go to my terminal. Okay, this is my terminal here. And I'm going to be using my WSL terminal. I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to clone it. So I'll have git clone. Then I will put the clone, enter. So it has been cloned. I will clear the bracket, and of course you know that when you use git clone, it's going to create the name of the repository, and the name of the repository here is what? Self-managed GitLab server. So let's clear the screen, and let us cd into it. Cd into self-hosted. Okay. So this is our repository. Let us see what we have inside it. So inside it we have a Terraform file, we have an Ansible inventory file, and we have the Ansible configuration file. Now let us open this. I'll clear the screen. Let us open this in our VS Code so that we can see the code. Let us open it. So how do we open in our VS Code? You are going to type code, then period, and click enter. So this is going to open, if it's your terminal is going to open your VS Code, and I'm going to expand it, and I'll open the terminal here. Okay, so this is my terminal, and I'm inside my self-hosted GitLab server. Okay, and if I do ll, I have everything here. So I will clear the bracket. I'll clear the screen. Now, let me walk you through every step that are here. However, before you know, Terraform and Ansible must be installed on your terminal. This is the same terminal I'm seeing here. If you look at it, admin at Felix PC, that is the same terminal that I have here. It's the same terminal. So let us check. There must be what? Let me see the out. There must be Terraform and Ansible. So let me check if Terraform version. Okay. So Terraform is installed. You can see it. Terraform 1.112 is installed. So if you don't have Terraform, you can just install Terraform on your machine by using the command sudo apt-y install Terraform. So you can install Terraform with this command, okay? Or you can just go on Google and search for Terraform installed and use the documentation, okay? Also, there must be Ansible. Ansible, the version. So let us see. You can see Ansible is also installed. Ansible 2.16.3 is installed. So if Ansible is not installed, very easy. You can just install with the same command. Sudo. You can install with the same command. Sudo apt. Sudo apt install Ansible fy, and you'll be fine. You can install Ansible. So when you install Ansible and you install Terraform, then you are good to go. So this is the same terminal I'm having here. If you look at this terminal, admin at Felix, that is the same terminal I'm having here. So let me quickly zoom in a little bit for you to see. Okay, so this is the terminal now. Now, let us explain what are the content of this code. So our first file here that we're going to look at is the main.tf file. So this is the main.tf file, and is the one that will create the EC2 machine on which we are going to install the GitLab self-hosted. And of course, if you are familiar with Terraform, so this is the provider, and this is the security group it's going to create. It's going to create a security group, and it's going to open port 22, port 80, and port 443, and it's also going to open an outbound. These three are for inbound traffic, while this one is for outbound traffic. And it's saying, sorry, this one is for outbound. The egress is for outbound, while the ingress is for inbound. And for the outgress, is merely saying allow all. The protocol is all, and the source is what? All. That's what you see here. So it's going to create an EC2 instance, and it's going to be using T2 large. You have to take note of this T2 large because of the size of what we need to install. GitLab is a very huge, it's very huge, and you need to use a very large instance type. Also, this is very important. You need to change this in your own case. This is the what? Look at the AMI. Okay, this AMI, I've actually copied it. How do I get it? Because I want to use Ubuntu 22.04. So I will go to my AWS console. I will click on launch instance. Okay, then I will click on Ubuntu. So when you click on Ubuntu, then you select which of the machine AMI do you want to use. And like I said, I want to use 22.04 LTS, and I confirm it. And you can see this is the AMI. You should see the AMI ID. It started with 0F9 and ended with 7FCA, and that is what I copied, and I brought it here. Copy and I brought it. You can see OF9 and ended with 7FCA. Also, this is my default key pair. Where do I get it? That is the key pair that is available in my if I go to my EC2 instance and I click on key pair, I have 4 key pair. One of them is this, and that's the one I'm using. This one, my default key pair, and that's why I indicate I can use any of these. I'm not sure if they are available, so I'm using this last one, and that is why inside my Terraform I indicated my key name, my default key pair. Okay, and I'm giving my volume, the storage as 50 gig. Then the name of the server will be GitLab server. Now, something is very, very instructive here. Look at this instruction here. Now, before I explain this instruction, look at the last thing, line 63 here. Output the public IP address. This is telling Terraform that after you have hosted, after you have spin off or you have created the EC2 instance, then output on the terminal the IP address. So it's going to show us the IP address of the machine when the machine is created. Okay, so now we need that IP address to what? To populate. I'm going to come back here. I want to go here. We need the IP address to populate our inventory file because it is this IP address. Don't forget that is the IP address of the EC2 instance that has been created. So it is this IP address that Ansible will work on. It is this IP address that Ansible will work on. So the output IP address will now come here to populate it. So that means immediately the IP address is created, we need to come and change this IP address. But I don't want us to do it manually. So that is why we have this script here. This script here that starts from line 54 to line 59 or to line 61. Immediately, Terraform create the EC2 instance and output the IP address. Then automatically this script will run and will change the IP address of this. We are going to see it in action. It will change this IP address. And then we can now go ahead and run the Ansible command. Okay? Now, excuse me. Now, I just want us to run just one or two commands and we'll be done. So we are done with the explanation of the Terraform and the inventory. This is the inventory of the Ansible. That is the instances that Ansible will be working on, and we only have one here, and the name is the name of the server is GitLab, and this is the command here. And if you look at it, the username, of course, is Ubuntu. That is the username that we created because we are using Ubuntu machine. So the username will be Ubuntu, and the private key, of course. Don't forget my key pair. And this is where the key pair is available. It is available inside this place. How do we know? I can come here and cd into. Okay, let me just take it out. And if I cd into .ssh, if I click enter and I do ls, you will see this is the key pair there. You can see that is that key pair. So, and if I do pwd to tell you where I am, it's telling me that I'm inside home, admin, and .ssh. And you know that this tilde represents home. Okay, so that's why I'm merely telling Ansible that for you to connect to my machine, go inside .ssh directory and look for this key pair and use it as your security authentication. Okay, so having known this, so the next thing we are going to do now is the Ansible. That is where the main job is. So that is the process that installed the GitLab. So what do we do here? So this is Ansible playbook. And what it's going to do is I'm giving the domain name of suspend.com. We are going to go to and configure the domain name after the EC2 instance has been created because we need the IP address of the EC2 instance. And what it's going to do is going to update the cache. It's going to install some dependencies, and then it's going to install something we call Postfix. Postfix is an email management system that allow you to create an email for the purpose of maybe if you want to reset password or what have you. Also it's going to install uncomplicated firewall. That is the meaning of this UFW. UFW is the meaning is uncomplicated firewall, and what it does is that it allows for easy configuration of firewalls in Linux, especially in Ubuntu. So it allows your port 22, port 80, and port 443 to be easily set up. And so it's going to install that. And this line 53, is the main one. That is the one that will install GitLab. It's going to install GitLab. If you see GitLab EE, that is GitLab Enterprise Edition. So, and after that, it's going to call the domain name. Look at the external URL. It's going to call this domain name. Look at it, GitLab_domain. If you come up here, you see that was referencing GitLab underscore domain. So he's calling this domain name here. Okay, and what does he want to do? Because he wanted to ask for a certificate. Okay, and if you look at it, ensure certbot. Ensure certbot, that is the Let's Encrypt that I told you. So it's going to install that and it's going to request for SSL certificate. So if that is obtained and that is going to be given, it's going to display it. Okay, that's what it's telling us, that it should show us OpenSSL Client Connect. It's going to show us the certificate if it is acceptable. If it is accepted, it's going to give us, and it's going to display it on the terminal. Okay. Also, we have, after the whole thing, is going to display the password. So it's going to display, it's going to print, you can see that line, say print password. So it's going to print the root password, and that password will only be, I think, available for 24 hours, after which it's going to expire. So that is all the process that will be accomplished by Ansible. Now, we ought to be doing all this manually, but that doesn't make any sense. So that's why I created the semi-automation. Now, before you carry out this, one important thing that must be done is, before you run the Ansible playbook, then the you must have configured your domain name to point to the IP address, because it takes few seconds or minutes for domain name to properly to become fully propagated. Now, your domain name must have been propagated before Ansible complete this process. If not, there's going to be a mismatch. So that means when we create our Terraform now and we got the IP address, we have to go and configure the domain name first before we run the Ansible file. So now let's jump onto the answer. So the first thing we are going to do now is we'll go to main.tf and we'll run our Terraform file. So I'm going to move up here. I'm going to cd out. I will clear the screen and cd back into self-hosted, and I will do Terraform init. That is the first thing I'm going to do. Okay, let us see. So it's going to initialize the process. So, and after Terraform init, normally you do Terraform plan. After Terraform plan, but I'm going to skip all that. I'll just go to Terraform apply. Okay, if it has any error, we'll try to fix it. So I will go and do Terraform apply. Terraform apply. And if I do Terraform apply, it's going to ask me if I want to continue or not after a certain time. But I don't want to do that. So I will just add auto approve, auto approve. And what this will do is that it's not going to prompt me for approval. He will just continue. You don't want to do this in production level. You always want to confirm before you run it. So I'm going to do Terraform apply auto approve. So, and after that, we will now go to our, when that is done, we will now go to our EC2 instance and see if that is created. But something is very instructive that I want you to see. I want you to see how the script will automatically update the IP address inside the inventory file. We are going to see that. No, we don't have any instance running now, so we'll come back here after the Terraform apply is complete. So here, I like to clear my screen so that everything will be clear. Let me clear my screen, clear the screen, and I will do Terraform apply auto approve, and I will click enter. So, but before that, let me change to the inventory file. Just take note of this number. You can see this IP address ended in 120, 115, 120. When this machine is completed and the IP address is shown, you will see this number will automatically change to that IP address. So I will click enter. And let us watch. Okay, so it's creating. So it will start the process. So you can see the line. It told us that it's going to what? It's going to add two resources. And it should go up, two resources will be there. But let's just watch the IP address on line 2. You can see immediately it output the IP address 52. Just look at it at the down output. 52.201.15.51. Now look at it here. The IP address has been changed to that. Okay, without touching it. That script has automatically updated it. Now that we have this IP address of the new machine, if you go to our EC2 instance now and we refresh, you can see we have a server on it, and the name of the server is a GitLab server, and the size is T2 large, and it has an IP address 52.201.145.14. So let's copy the IP address. So we'll copy the IP address now, and we'll now go to our domain name. We'll go to our domain register and update the IP address. So I will go to my domain register now. I think here is it. So my domain register is Hionos. You can have there's one called GoDaddy. There's Hostinger. There are a whole lot of them, but um, I'm using Hionos. It's the same thing. The DNS setting are the same thing. So I'll go to my DNS record. Let me refresh. I don't know if it's still active. If it's not active, we have to sign in again. You can see it's not active. So let's sign in. Sign in here, and it's a two-factor authenticator. So let me approve from my phone. So it's asking me to approve. So I will go ahead it now. So what I'm doing now is I'm just signing in. So now that I'm logged in, we'll go to DNS. Okay, I'll go to DNS settings. And normally, if you are doing it for the first time, you will go to hard record. Okay, and you're going to add an A record. Now, we have different record in DNS anyway, and we're going to have a video to explain that. Now, when you want to have your domain pointing to a particular IP address, you use what we call the A record. And you can see that's the first record online here. You can see it says assign an IP4 address for a domain name. You have an IP address and you want to map your domain name onto that IP address. So what you use is the A record. So you just click on create A record. But see, I have some existing A record, so I'll just edit it. Okay, so I'll just go back here, and I will go back here. I should go straight down. I have some A records, so I'll just edit it to my new IP address. Okay, and I will click on save. And you see that automatically changed and created the www action and the art. But now I want to be able to access. If you look at it, this is my domain name. But I want to be able to access my GitLab from the address GitLab dot the domain name GitLab dot suspendemo.com. That is the address I want to use to access the GitLab. So in that case, I will come here. I will edit this. You can see the host name is GitLab, and I will still put the IP address there. Okay. Yeah, it will be better understood if I had done it from the scratch. I can do it from the scratch. I can just delete. Okay, I can just delete this so that you can understand what I'm doing. Just delete it. Okay, and I will delete this. So now I don't have any A record. If you see it, there's no A record here. And so I'll come here, I will say add A record. I'll click on add. So the first thing I want to put here, the host name is, I'll just put @ and I'll put the IP address of the machine, and I will save it. And this will automatically create two records, the @ and the www. So that means you can access it at www dot the domain name. Now, since I want to have a special address for my GitLab, I want it to have GitLab dot the domain. So I'm going to add another record, and in this case, I will still go to be A record, and I will say GitLab. Okay, sorry, I already have a GitLab, and I'll put the same IP address, and I will save it. And now I have the record. So I will go back to my terminal. Okay, and I need to confirm if this. Let me clear my screen. Remember, we already have our IP address, our EC2 machine running with this IP address 145.51, and so I will clear my screen. Okay, And I'm going to do, let me check out. Let me sign out here. CD. Now I want to check if my domain name has propagated successfully, meaning that if my domain name is now pointing to my IP address, and you're going to use a command called lslookup, and what is the domain name? sourcepindemo.com. Remember, this is the domain name from here. This is the domain name, this one. So I want to see if that domain name is pointing to this IP address, 145.51. So I'll come back and I'll type enter. I may not have the two. You can see now it's pointing to it. The name is sourcepin.com and the IP address is this. So now your IP address has propagated. That means anytime I type sourcepin.com, it will send to this IP address. So now we can now run our Ansible playbook. So I will cd into that self. I'll cd into self. Okay. Okay. So now we will now go and what? Test and run our Ansible playbook. Okay, so before we finally run the Ansible playbook, let's first ping, let's first confirm if our Ansible playbook can connect or can communicate with our remote server. And what we are going to do is we will use the command Ansible all -I inventory dot -min -m ping. So we are saying Ansible should go and check if it can ping the content of inventory.ini. And you know that inventory.ini contain this IP address. So we want to see if Ansible can ping it. So if you click on ping, let us see if it is successful. We type yes. Let us see. And you can see it's successful. That means can ping, can see ping pong. That means Ansible can successfully communicate with this. So we can now go ahead and run our Ansible playbook. And that is Ansible playbook -I init inventory.ini. And what is the other file here? Install. Okay, so that's it. So this is the command that's going to run our Ansible playbook. Ansible playbook, okay, -I, then on what inventory do you want to run it? That is it. And where is the command? This. So I'll click enter now, and it's going to take some couple of time to install. I'll click enter, and let us watch it as it works. It says could not match the server host pattern, ignoring GitLab server. Okay. Oh, I see. Now you should go into. I understand immediately. I saw this error. You should look at our Ansible playbook. Let me show us something. You should say it. The host name is what? GitLab server. You should look at it. The host what? GitLab server. But inside our inventory, we only put GitLab there. So we need to change this to GitLab server. And let us see the way it is reading. It is GitLab _server. So it's either we change this one to only GitLab or we change this one to GitLab.server. So let's go and change this one to what? GitLab _server. I think it's server or servers. Let us see. _server. Okay. So now that we have it, we can go back and run our command. So I'm going to clear the screen again. Clear the screen. And I'm going to now started working. It's going to take a significant amount of time, maybe about 8 to 9 minutes. So what I will do is I'm going to pause the video, and when it is completed, I'm going to come back. But before before I pause it, I will allow it get to where it's going to take time. It's going to take time at the point when you want to install GitLab EE, GitLab Enterprise Edition. That is a very huge process. That one will take almost like 8 to 9 minutes. So I will pause it at there, but let's still leave it at this point. Okay, now it's installing uncomplicated firewall. So it has installed OpenSSH, HTTPS, and then it's adding GitLab repository. Now it's installing GitLab, and this is where the work is. So it's going to take a lot of time here. And like I said, I'm going to pause, and when it is completed, we'll come back, we'll check our server, we'll log into the server, and we'll complete the learning. So after about 8 minutes or thereabout, it is finally completed. And if you see the process, this is the stage where I pause the video when it is installing GitLab. So after he succeeded in installing GitLab, he went ahead to request to install Certbot. And after that, that Certbot will now request for SSL certificate. And in the next task is confirming if to obtain or verifying that the SSL certificate was obtained. And this is where the connection is. This is the stage where it's reaching out to the SSL certificate issuance, and this is the domain name, and it's saying this is let encrypt process, and this is the certificate, and that certificate was issued, and this is the certificate. That is the whole of this is the certificate. This is the certificate up to the end here, and it says it is assigned to what subject. The name is what the C name is assigned to what we call it, suspendemo.com, and the claim certificate type and all that. Yeah, we don't need to know much about this. So now that certificate has been granted, and if you look at it here, he stated something about the password, and he said this will be automatically deleted in the first 24 hours. So the password will be available for the next 24 hours, and that's the password here. Look at it here, end password. So if you copy from here all the way to the equal sign, that is what the password is. So I'm going to copy it, and we're going to go to our browser and access our GitLab. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to open another tab, and I will type gitlab.suspend.demo.com, and I click enter, and boom, we have our GitLab. Now this GitLab, you can see is installed, and if you click here, you can see the connection is secured. You can see it. So because it is secure, the connection is secure, and its certificate is valid. So that means it is free from security processes. And here I can log in. The username the root username is root, and that password is what I copied just now. And I will sign in. And this is my GitLab platform. I can close this. So this is the administrative platform. So here I can create user, I can invite user, I can create a repository if I like. I'll come here and create new repository. So it's asking me if I want to create a blank project, if I want to create a template, or if I want to import an existing project, if there's a merger, if there's an issue. So this is the CI, this is the project capability that you cannot see in other VSC like GitHub. You cannot see this. So GitLab is able to provide you with issues, project, group that you don't have to go and integrate third-party tool like Jira or ServiceNow or Free Service. No, you can do your version control, do your CI/CD, and at the same time manage your project. So, this is what I intend to show you. So this GitLab now is in my private is in my private repository, my private network. And so I can control it. I can give access to a number of people that can access it. And if I don't want to be accessed to the public, I can keep it within my organization. So this is what um, I intend to teach us, or what we intend to learn this night. So in this video, so I'm going to leave all the necessary information, the Git repository, and the documentation in the comment below. If you have any question, please put it in the comment below, and I will try to answer as quick as possible. I hope you have learned one or two things in this video. Please do subscribe and like this video so that when I post, you can get notification for new videos. I hope you like this, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.